week's World Climate Change News Report. Around 25,000 people from 200 different countries are expected to attend the UN Climate Change Conference COP25 in Madrid this week. They include dozens of heads of state and government, business leaders, scientists, and activists like Thunberg. The Madrid meeting is the last gathering of the COP group before 2020, with urgent calls to make serious progress on climate action over the next 2 weeks. The Production Gap report, produced by 50 researchers from leading research organizations, has revealed that countries are planning to produce 120% more fossil fuels than what could be burned to keep global temperature rise below 1.5 degrees by 2030. The report shows a clear disconnect between countries' plans for coal, oil, and gas production and the Paris temperature goals. This gap requires serious attention from the governments in order to align production plans with climate goals, along with a gradual transition away from fossil fuels. A report by the Climate Council of Australia shows that hundreds of climate records have been broken in the last 90 days in Australia, with soaring temperatures and diminishing rainfall. Researchers fear that by 2040, temperatures of 50 degrees Celsius could become a norm in Sydney and Melbourne, unless global warming is restricted to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Australia is seeing an unprecedented surge in temperature, bushfires in the winter, and extended spells of drought. The report calls for urgent action to avoid the more permanent effects of climate change. Zambian President Edgar Lungu has warned that Victoria Falls, one of the world's natural wonders, might dry unless climate action is taken to mitigate climate change. This would not only impact Zimbabwe's tourism, but also affect animals depending on the water supply. Zambian president expressed his concern over the plight of this majestic falls and stated how climate change is impacting the lives of Zambian citizens. This year's drought has brought about unprecedented decline in water levels, with the average flow over the falls being down by 50% in 2019. A group of scientists study published recently breaks down how components of plane exhaust impact the global climate and human health, and weighed the pros and cons of policies aimed at reducing the harm caused by these emissions. The scientists found that 3 components of airplane emissions account for 97% of negative environmental and health impacts. These are nitrogen oxides, carbon dioxide, and contrails. The clothing industry is responsible for 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions and consumes more energy than aviation and shipping combined, according to the United Nations. In a bid to stop fast fashion, H&M will trial a new initiative where fashion fans can rent a range of garments, including bridal dresses. By 2040, H&M intends to reach the point that its greenhouse gas emissions go negative.